All right, folks. So basically, this is my tier list. I don't want this tier list just to be like this. I want it changed and updated as popular support. Mainly, I want to tell this to my community that I made in Warcraft 3, and then they can explain to me why a certain hero can be changed. And then this tier list might have an update. This is probably 1.0. Didn't put on the title, but I want to make it 1.0 and then 2.0 tier list, then 3.0 because it's gonna change as updates go on. A lot of these heroes would have been much higher if they would have had 6 item slots like the Warden. It would have been something like Mix 3.3.3 version. But in this one, the 3.4.2, I believe, we're now. A lot of these heroes are much, much lower. Like the Pit Lord could have been S with 6 items. But unfortunately, the 4 item capacity has diminished a lot of. All right, let me go quick because I don't want to spend too much time on this stream. A lot of people heard and been saying that the Paladin is the best one. He's up there, but I feel like the Dead Knight beats the Paladin because the movement speed for the Unholy Aura is such a very good ability. I know everybody says that the Devotion Aura is good. Yeah, the Devotion Aura is good if you have a lot of heavy armor, mainly like knights. If you get knights and you have a say like the Paladin, uh, yeah, you usually go for Devotion Aura and not Devotion. Wait, Devotion Aura is the one that gives you the. Oh man, I forgot the name of the aura. Anyways, I don't know if it's Devotion Aura, but so the aura that gives you armor. I think it is Devotion Aura. I could be wrong, but the one that gives you armor shines more if you have heavy armor, in my opinion. If you have a lot of light armor, yeah, it can help. Some heroes have less armor than others, like the Blade Master doesn't have much armor, so they don't have much help from that. If you have a second hero and it stacks. So the Unholy Aura, for whatever reason, I somebody told me this and I tested it. You can test it your own. If you have the Unholy Aura and you have something like the Endurance Aura from like the Tauren, your characters are gonna move way faster. And nobody told me it could stack unless somebody said it out of the blue. I'm gonna get this two auras so they can stack and I can move faster. And I tested it, and I don't know if it was my eyes playing tricks on me, but I started seeing my units move a lot quicker. I'm like, oh, if this is actually true, it's very OP. Because a lot of things that a lot of people don't know is that a lot of the orbs don't stack with a lot of the stuff that get triggered, like the fire aura from the priestess. But anything that's passive can stack with the orb. That's why like the fire lord can be so OP with with an orbs. But unfortunately, not that many people ended up buying orbs for the fire lord. But anyways, yeah, I think that the Dead Knight beats the Paladin in that regard because of the speed. The revival, maybe having permanent revive is probably better, but I feel like the unbearability and getting in the way sometimes can save up a lot of the back line. So I feel like that can be really good um, in huge armies. And it's sad that a lot of DK and Paladin players they ended up going air. I'm like, are you kidding me, dude? You're gonna pick up a lot of the ground. You can't pick up air. So I don't know. Maybe the level 6, the Paladin might be better, but I think the aura for the Dead Knight beats the Paladin. I'm sorry, but getting faster towards their enemy fortress, especially when you're like almost winning but not at the point of winning, like that wins games, man. Same thing with the Tauren, but the Blade Master, he could have been A, but because his illusion is so OP, man, saves up. He gets saved a lot of the times from getting hit. Um, Windwalk has been getting a little bit better. I've been ignoring it like 100% of the time. Whirlwind is kind of like not an okay spell in my book. It's kind of useless, but it's good against anything that's nuke, so you want to toggle it. But it's like in long games, oh man, I don't know. Like I think probably one level in Wing Walk would probably be good. But you have to see the fights and see if there's gonna be any casters so you can toggle it on and on. But I would probably get a level 10. But yeah, for the Blade Master, he can be very tanky if you put three attributes and still with four items. He doesn't die that easy compared to the Demon Hunter. That's why the Demon Hunter is kind of low. The Demon Hunter should have been A with the six items, but four items, I mean, you can only do so much. You can with the Blade Master, you can only have one card and he can do good. You don't have to get two cards in order for him to be super tanky with HP. Um, the Tauren, with the Tauren, all you can do goes for three belts and one orb does really good. I've seen people get Talisman with him, which is good. I mean, you got the revival, so a lot of the times it breaks up a lot of the armies when he dies, and then half of the armies fighting him, and it wins games a lot of the times, unfortunately. It wins games. Like I feel like the Blade Master shouldn't have been S rank. I think he could have been A rank. But I don't know, the critical damage is kind of OP. If you get Orb of Darkness and the enemy doesn't have any dispel and you put nothing but armors, Helm of Balers, he can be very tanky in that regard. Um, in my opinion, like I think two Helm of Balers and one card, and Orb of Darkness is probably where he shines the most. I don't know, Talisman of Evasion is very overrated. Like I tend to not use it with a lot of the heroes. Now, if you go for a tank route, either you go for Talisman of Evasion or you go for COD. I feel like going for both is kind of like eh. Like maybe for Mountain King will probably be good for Talisman of Evasion. Um, what else? Other heroes like probably Pit Lord as well. Anyways, let's move on to the air tier list. The Witch Doctor on version 3.3.3. It was bugged. Like whenever you do the level 6 thing, it only lasted for like 3 seconds. Now it can last a shit ton, man. I seen it last as good as 8 seconds or so. And the only way to really end him is by getting a lot of air. Like if you see a Shadow Hunter, pump air as much because a lot of the people that ended up fighting Shadow Hunter, they just get a big army and then they end up doing really bad if the level 6 gets toggled. And the level 6 has been proven to win games and is a healer. I don't know, maybe Witch Doctor might probably go into S tier. He's very broken in my book. Pit Lord, Pit Lord has had a glitch. I haven't seen it on the new version, but in 3.3.3, I would see a lot of people spam two demons, and I'll tell the assholes because that's what they are because they don't even mention what they're triggering it. Is there a trick or is there a way or is there like a cheating method? And they will never tell me. Like I will never get a response. So if he had that mechanic on 3.4.2 and up versions, or is there a way to still do it? He can easily be S tier, man. Having those two demons instead of one is very helpful. And I don't know, maybe probably a Dreadlord might probably ended up. Yeah, you know what? Maybe it's something like this. Because I've been hearing that the level 6 Dreadlord is better, and I'm starting to believe that. Both stun, the Pit Lord's level 6 stun as well. but I feel like there's more radius for the Dreadlord when they already comes, and then Vampire Gara is actually kind of broken, so it works up a lot of the high DPS units or fast attacking units like the ghouls. What other units? Shamans with Bloodlust, Unholy Frenzy with Necros. Um, Anything that has like that can pump up increased speed. The Dreadlord can be very broken with Vampire Gara. And for some reason, I noticed that the Mountain King works really well for the Vampire Gara. So they work really well together, or unless you want to get it for the Mountain King as well. But yeah, yeah, the Dreadlord's up there. Sleep, I only get one level sleep, but sometimes if I get him kind of late, I ignore the sleep. I don't. There's no point of getting level two, level three sleep. Uh, the first ability that nukes it doesn't do too much damage in my opinion, but it does do a good amount of damage towards tier one units. So yeah, the priestess, her aura, and if you have her aura level three and you have the Kodo beast, I think the frost worms. I can be wrong on this, but I think the frost worms can get a plus 42 or plus 45 extra damage. That's a lot of damage getting increased for frost worms, and if you have something like bloodlust, like if you have Kodo beasts and you get priestess of the moon and you have worms or chimeras, man, it's a game changer. And then the best part of all, she can do the starfall, and she does end up killing a lot of tier 2 air and some tier 3 air like hippogriff riders and when riders. She decimates them, man. Like it's crazy how they can have like a line of those, and that starfall comes raining down on them. And in long games, a lot of the level 6 that has very good AoE tends to win games. So that's why Priestess is up here and she's not on B tier list. Cause she'd have been a B tier list, but because of Starfall, yeah, she's up here. But like I said, this is my opinion. I want to debate. This is gonna change in time. The Nairub, Beetle, Crypt Lord, whatever his name is. Level 6 is not that good. Where he shines is his spike. A lot of times he ends up throwing off a lot of and the people whenever they're fighting the Crypt Lord, they all put them in a big line. I usually when I see the Crypt Lord, I tend to put the hero on the very bottom, on the very top. Because if I put it on the back line in the middle, more than likely the hero is gonna stun him, and that's broken, man. The armor that reflects back damage is like another Thorn Arrow, but only for the Crypt Lord, and is actually really good for him. So he tends to actually be very one of the most tankiest. Might probably be more tanky than Tauren Chieftain. I tend to buy a ring for him. I think out of all the heroes, he's the only one that it's a must. He already has increased armor, so getting that plus of 5 armor is just greedy. It's either that, the ring, talisman of evasion, or a cod. And some people are greedy and they end up getting two. Like, nah, you want to increase your DPS as much. So I tend to actually get something like Helm of Baylor, 2 belts, and 1 ring for him. And I try to level up that plus anything that increases back their damage. And I've seen so many Crypt Lords get the one that spawns the crypt, the small crypt beetles. I think it sucks, but if you're fighting something against banshees and you can't target none of their crap or somebody that's spamming a lot of dryads, then probably that might probably be a little bit better option. But that's my opinion. The Lich King, the level 3 Frost Nova in long games is very, very broken. It can nuke. I think level 2 Frost Nova at all needs to kill like a big line of hippogriffs. And usually hippogriffs, people spam them whenever they want to attack here. But the leech can shut down a lot of the weak air, flying machines, hippogriffs, all that stuff. And his level 6 is probably a little bit well, I'm not gonna say worse. I think it's almost the same as Crypt Lord, but he shines with the Frost Nova. I think he has the best nuke in the game. Out of all the heroes, I know that Farseer is kind of like, hey, what about me? But dude, the Frost Nova is a killer, man. And I think the Blood Mage has a very explosive AoE as well. But I think Frost Nova kills it. Why? But the only reason why I have the Blood Mage so high here is because of his level 6 Phoenix. It dies and then it gets revived. But the reason why it's not because it gets revived, but because he has splash damage. So and it ends up doing really good against tier 2 air and to some extent tier 3 air like Hippogriff Riders and Wind Riders, but not so much. It tends to do really good against gargoyles because of the splash damage and all of that stuff. Kind of fragile, keeps dying, but as long as the egg keeps getting revived back up, you have a good amount of ground, you should be able to actually keep having the Phoenix staying alive over and over. And yeah, they switched one of the skills. Banish was used to be broken. Um, it used to banish a lot of the strong heroes, and that's why a lot of people ended up getting that item that evades getting hit from nukes, any target spells. But I don't know, like I feel like banish, in my opinion, we had a lot of magic damage was broken, so that ended up giving it a very useless ability. It's kind of good in level 3, but level 1 and 2, especially level 1, like I'll give you mana, you give me mana, nobody loses mana, we B. It sucks. So he can, and with the level 3 ability of that one, you can actually get away from getting a Sobi mask or something like Pendant of Mana. But yeah, Mountain King, my favorite hero. There's two routes, and I only seen one person go my route. The longest time I would ignore the hammer, and I would go for the three attributes. And if you go for that, of course, Talisman of Evasion is probably like for more tanky route. You got three options in my book: the ring, COD, or what's it called? The Talisman of Evasion. So I'll put the Talisman of Evasion if I'm going for the tank route. If I'm going for nuke route, which is throwing hammers and thunderclaps, which is actually really good, you want to have at least the Pendant of Mana and him, and a Sobi mask. You want to have those two with him. You don't want to have Sobi mask too early. It's more like probably once you get Avatar level 6, but that's past level 6 Avatar. In my book, Demon Hunter, he could have been A easily, but the fact that he's so fragile and you only have four items, like with him, that'd probably be the only hero where I would probably go for two cards. Normally, if I would go for card, it will probably just be one, but for this instance, I'll get two because he's a very fragile hero and he dies very early. Even with the evasion passive skill, he's still very fragile in my book. Um, Mana burn, I ignore it 95% of the time or 90% of the time. The only time I get it is when I'm fighting the Sea Witch, which is she's gonna be next in the B tier list. But only then I ignore that mana burn. I feel like it's useless. But only if she's fighting something like the Sea Witch or maybe the Farseer as well. Because Farseer is kind of useless without magic. So yeah. Alright, let's move on. Oh, and the level 6 is actually has splash damage and it's actually pretty good. Now, if you don't want to get an orb with Demon Hunter, and you can actually wait until there's a bunch of air. You can actually toggle on the level 6. They tend to target the air. That's actually pretty good, and it does really decently well against Hippogriff riders and Wind riders and some of the tier 2 air. But not so much against Frost Worms or Chimeras when he's level 6. It does okay, but not so well. But he's very, in my opinion, he's a very good hero. He might move to A tier list. We'll see. There might be people asking me that he should be moved to A. We'll see. Same thing with the Sea Witch. I tend to actually toggle the tornado on, not at the lane that I'm fighting, but usually if we're winning, I turn on the tornado at the lane that's coming. So if I'm an example, I'm red, right? I'm host and I'm fighting against blue. If yellow is fighting orange and yellow already killed most of orange army and then blue comes in and then fights a little bit of orange and then I kill blue, but I don't want to toggle a tornado on him. So what I do, I toggle tornado with purple, and I think that's where he shines the most. Same thing with the Archmage. You want to toggle the one after you. And the one when you're fighting, that's more of a desperate. That's more like when they're like in your fortress. Um, but I feel like I don't want to turn it on right away, and it feels like it can get in the way from throwing the fork lightning. And the fork lightning in my book, it has to be level 3 in order for it to shine. She's very tanky. Of course, everybody goes for the magic route. That's where she shines the most. So I go with the robe of Magi's. I tend to like to have 3 of those, and then I get an orb of darkness. I think like orb of darkness, aside from the blade master, it's really good with that hero. Really good if you have something like shamans and necros for increased speed, but or any aura that it stacks with her. But yeah, I feel like she's a very good hero nonetheless. The Fork Lightning could be better. I don't know, but yeah, let me move on to the Dark Ranger. I think the Dark Ranger might move as well, probably to A. I've seen people win games uh solely with her. So I don't know if she belongs to B tier. I'm gonna go based on people's opinion on that. But the Dark Ranger, if there's no dispel, those skeletons can get out of hand real quick with the Dark Arrow. And then manipulation, the level 6, if she targets those strong tier 3 air, like worms and chimeras, that's kind of broke. And the cooldown, that's the best part. They could cost 50 mana if I'm not mistaken. And then the cooldown is not even that slow. Like you can use it in I think it's 15 seconds, something like that. You can use it again and again. If she stays alive, which a lot of the times she does, she can wreak havoc, man. Like, and then silence. That's the best part. And I forgot to mention that with the priestess, it's becoming like the new meta. Silence is becoming very, very annoying and broken. Uh, if you can silence something like the warden, like the hero, if she can't blink, she's gonna die. If you silence like a huge amount of necros so they can spawn skeletons, it can win you games, man. Let me move on. Yeah, the life leech is very, very situational. It's like similar to sleep. I only get it like in the very beginning when I'm like 1v1 against a hero and I don't have anything, or just one unit and her, and I want to win lane. That's what I will probably only get the life leech thing, and then I'll get the 2 attributes, so she can actually attack faster if I don't put items on her. And the Tinker, this guy doesn't get a lot of love. This guy might probably move to C tier, but I stand on my ground as to why he's B tier. I feel like this guy, his level 6, and I don't know if it's true or not. I think there's a percentage. The more costly a unit is, the more gold you're gonna get. For example, And I think that the AI does it automatically. It targets the one with the most high HP and cost unit. So there's a ghoul and there's a worm. The Tinker's gonna target the worm, of course, and you're gonna get the gold. I think I can be wrong here. Like there hasn't been a lot of tests, and the map developers haven't giving out this information to the public that much. But I feel like I think one time when she used the levels, well, he used the level 6 on first worm. I got like 300 and something gold. I can be wrong, but dude, that's a lot of gold. Like the fact that he's level 6 is probably the most underrated of all of these roster. Is not even appreciated that much, and he attacks air as well. And he's a healer as well. Now the thing about him being a healer, he has to be like on the back line or mid line because he tends to go forward and attack like an idiot, and he tends to die. So he's heavy item dependent, especially in yeah, early, mid, and long games. He tends to die. So if you really want to get the most out of him, you have to put items quick. Um, Aside from that, acid bomb is very good. It does damage over time and it increases decreases damage armor, sorry. And the enrage ability, I tend to get it later because it has very like it lasts only very little. Now, I feel like if you're gonna go for the enrage route, you can put something like Orb of Corruption. Can probably be really good against a tanky hero. But I stand on my own. The getting the healing and getting the acid bomb is like the ones that I'll focus, and then I'll get the rage at the very end. I've seen very few people get the rage early. I don't know. It's debatable. Farseer, he might move up as well. Probably move up here or probably move on the A tier. The fact that his chain lightning and the firebolt wins a lot of the games as well. Similar to the what's it called, Dark Ranger. I think they might probably belong on A tier, and I'm probably putting them on the B tier just to see what how people are gonna react. I'm not sure. I don't think they deserve to be on B tier. The thing about the Farseer that I don't like that the Dark Ranger has is that his level 6 kind of sucks. I've seen people use it, but no, it's not worth getting, to be honest. I've seen people go for the wolves quick. Now, I usually tend to put 1 point on the wolves just to win lane, but there's a lot of dispel in long games, so the chain lightning and fireball is where he shines. He's probably the most heavy magic dependent hero aside from the Sea Witch, of course. Um, so I tend to get like something like two pendants of mana, something like an item that gives me brilliance aura, like Cat's Pipe or something like a Sobi Mask. So what I like to have with him is two pendants of manas, which they're only 100. They're supposed to be more than 100. So if they make an update version, they should change the prices of some of the orbs. Some of the items should be changed as well. Like the prices are just too good to be true. Like the pendant of mana is 100. Sobi Mask is 140. Like the pendant of mana, if anything, it should be at least 150 or 160. It shouldn't be 100. Like it's one of the best items in the shop, and not that many people ended up buying it. I've seen so many people go for so if you're gonna go for a Sobi mask, get a pendant of mana first. Say like something like if you're gonna go nuke route, something like a Mountain King. If you're gonna go Sobi mask, you're not gonna get pendant of mana. Like what the hell, man? Like get pendant of mana first, and then get a Sobi mask. But with this guy, I like to have two pendants of manas and maybe one Sobi mask or one cat pipes. And then everything else, it's up to you if you want to put an orb, you want to give him more health, or anything else. That's up to you. Um, the panda, he's level 6. From what I heard in the earlier versions of Frozen Throne, he used to be broken and the best hero at one point. Now, for this game in Direct Strike, the Drunken Haze, I feel like it hasn't been proven too good in my book. It can change. I feel like the first spell that does damage is doesn't do as much damage as it should, and I feel like sometimes it can be a little bit kind of broken. But the third ability, the one that has the passive one that does increase, I think, multiplier damage and then dodging the attacks, I feel like that's where he shines. You gotta have something increased speed for this guy in order for to do a lot of damage. And I done a lot of damage in a lot of games because of that. Because I go for that route. I seen people go for Drunken Haze and then the other one, the Fire Drunken. Oh, I forgot the first ability, the one that throws the fire. Go for like that route. I don't like going that route. I feel like going the passive route is probably more broken than that Demon Hunter evasion because he evades but also does more damage. So you can do a lot of damage here. And maybe if you're dealing with a lot of tier 2 air, you can get something like Orb of Fire, but you're better off just going for high DPS items and not getting an orb. Because I feel like his level 6 shines, and a lot of times whenever the level 6 gets unfold and they die, fortunately he dies as well, but he's a very tanky unit. I've seen people get Talisman of Evasion with him. It's kind of funny, but he doesn't need it. It doesn't stack either from my personal opinion, but all you need is just put a lot of high DPS. What I like to go on him is just one Helm of Baylor and probably two belts. And if you want to put an orb or something else, it's up completely up to you. I feel like two or three Helm of Baylors is too much for him. And it's up to you if you want to go for the Helm Baylor part. I don't think it's that worth it. I think it's more better for an agility hero. He's a strength hero, so I think probably belts is better for suited for him. Now, this guy, Keeper of the Grove, he might changed. I've seen people telling me that he's the best hero. I've seen people telling me he's the worst hero. I don't think he's the worst hero. He doesn't deserve a D tier. He's Thorn of Ara tends to destroy a lot of agility heroes like the Demon Hunter and Blade Master. Like if you have him and you have something that spams a lot of that's spamming a lot of tier 3 ground like abominations, torrents, and they have something like shamans that increases their speed. A lot of the damage is gonna come back to them, and trust me, Thorn Aura is probably one of the most broken auras in the game, and he might change to probably A tier. I don't think he deserves to be in S tier. His level 6 sure gives you a lot of healing, and they tend to actually support a lot of the backlines and midlines when you're fighting at the fortress to win the games. But I feel like the level 6 doesn't have a. It's not like a big game changer in my book. Um, yeah, his treants, And they don't have this spell, well, yeah, they might probably be good. His root is actually very underrated. Can do a lot of damage, especially to enemy heroes that don't have anything to dispel and that don't have anything to evade spells. His root His level 3 roots can do a lot of damage, and trust me, I've seen people ignore that ability. And like I said, he shines not because of his level 6. I feel his level 6 is kind of really good. I feel like Starfall is better. Where he shines is the Thorn of Aram. And I'm gonna go for C tier now. Archmage. I feel like the Archmage, the only good thing about him is probably the Brilliance Aura, man. People might say, well, what about the Blizzard? The Blizzard's actually good against here. Yeah, it's very situational, and it all depends how they place their air units as well. But I mean, water elementals are okay, but there's a lot of dispel. His level 6 tornado, as mentioned, like the Sea Witch, A lot of people don't know how to use it properly. So you want to tend to use it if you're winning lane, you will beat the first person and they only have like 30, 40% of the army. I've seen people use it like 80, 90% of the community use it whenever they're fighting that lane. As soon as he comes out, they have it on. I turn it off, then I win lane, and then right before I have like my army 50, 60, 70% destroyed. Before I die, I throw the tornado so I can lift some of the army so that next um my next ally comes in and doesn't fight as much units and it does work, man. It does work. Now for the Archmage, I don't know, like the tornado, it can help a lot, but like I said, it's very, very situational and you have to toggle it really well. The Warden, I'm gonna get, I know I'm gonna get hated by this. I've seen so many people love this hero, and some people say it's their best hero in the game. Some people might want to have this at A or S tier. I mean, it can change depending on popular support. Um, the Blink ability. Now, the thing about Blink is that people go for Blink at level 3 until on his level 5, or she's level 5, sorry. So she never dies when she's level 6, and people want to put items on her. So the thing about her is that you want to go level 3 Blink until she's like level 7 in my book. That's when you're like, okay, I already got level 6. Then I'm gonna start pumping items with her as soon as she's level 6, before she gets to level 3 Blink, because as soon as she gets to level 3 Blink, she's gonna end up not dying. Now, I've seen so many Priestess and Dark Rangers go for silence lately. Don't be too surprised if your hero ends up dying left and right. Now, if she gets hit by a lot of hits with the worm, or if she gets nuked by the Frost Nova, then she can die from that. Or mana burn from Demon Hunter, but I don't tend to like using the mana burn that much for her. But the silence for the Priestess and Dark Ranger, that's where she ends up dying. So she's very, very like people know already how to deal with her. Like but when it was version 3.3.3, she would never die, man. But now 3.4.2, now that there's only 4 items, I feel like she's not that tanky anymore. She ended up dying a lot. I feel like healing, any of the rings healing or any of the aura healings with her is probably really good. So when she teleports, she constantly ends up healing. I feel like she's like the only hero in my book for the healing items that can be good for her. Some people might put healing items on the paladin. That's up to you, but I feel like that's kind of a waste for the paladin. For her, I've seen people put one Sobi, which is okay, Sobi, because I mean, if you're gonna go for the magic route, you might want to actually don't go heavy on blink. It's either tank route, which is going level 3 blink on level 7, and some people go level 5. But like I said, if you go level 5, you gotta put items really early, and that ended up hampering your lane. And the first 10 to 15 minutes, you want to focus a lot on putting your money on the army, not on items. And 3.4.2 has been proven that if you put early items on heroes, it's kind of a waste. It used to be really good when it was 6 item slots, but with 4 item slots, like the meta now, you gotta put more money, like the first 10 to 15 minutes on army first, rather than on items. And that's the reason why the Warden is so low, because she would be heavy, probably the most heaviest relying on items for her to really do something. And now you can only get what something like Zoe Mask, Talisman of Evasion, and like 2 Helm of Bailers, or I don't know. I'm just giving an opinion on items suggesting, because if you're gonna go for the tank route, she doesn't need that much healing. Not much healing, much mana regeneration. Sorry, because on the tank route, I ignore the first ability. I put 3 attributes. I go level 3 blink, and I go level 3 the other one that does 200 and some damage, but only targets one unit. That's a tank route. Now, if you're gonna go for the mana route, sort of like the Mountain King, you want her to use all her abilities, and she's very heavy mana on that route, and she tends to die a lot if you go for that route, because sometimes she wastes some of her magic, and then she doesn't have enough for blink, even at level 3 blink. So you gotta be very careful if you're gonna go for the magic route. You gotta put really good, like something like Pendant of Mana or something that can have a good amount of mana. I think it's what, Tinker, the next one? No, not Tinker. The Alchemist. Forgot his name. Well, anyways, the Alchemist. The Alchemist has probably one of the strongest early um, pushes. Goblin Factory is kind of broken on level one, but aside from that, that's where he shines. Unfortunately, his level six is not anything too fancy. I think Avatar or something like the Demon Hunter transformation is better than the level six of the Alchemist. Um, Wait, I'm probably confusing him. I think this is the Alchemist and this is Tinker. Oh man, I forgot. Well, anyways, the Goblin. He's a Goblin. Anyway, this hero, what I tend to go is for one a Goblin factory, and then the next I go for missiles, and then I go for the passive skill. I put 3 points on passive skills because if you put 3 points, the missiles can actually shine and they can stun. So by the time he gets level 6, he tends to throw the missiles a lot. And I think the missiles got kind of nerfed on version 3.3.3. His missiles will only cost 30 mana if I'm not mistaken. So I think on that version he would have been a B or maybe A tier. But now the mana for that rockets or missiles cost 100. So he's very heavily mana dependent, and then the missiles are kind of really good at throwing a lot of the mid lane, especially those casters that are becoming a nuisance, like the Necros. So I think putting on the points is very like tricky with him. But like aside from that, his level six is not that good. His missiles are okay. I wish he had more AOE, but it's not enough. And for the damage, for how much it costs, I think a Frost Nova level 3 would probably do way better justice than that. And Goblin level Factory 2 and 3 in my book is kind of useless. I think level 1 is all you need. Um, so I tend to go for a tanky route. I put two attributes with him. So I get one Goblin Factory, the three missiles, the three passive skills, the two attributes, and then I go. Maybe on this guy, I could probably go for two cards as well, because you want to be as tanky as possible so he can last, but as well you want to have him as much mana as possible. So I don't know, two pendant of manas and two cards can probably do good. Or if you want to have something like one card, one pendant of mana, and two of everything else, whatever you want. Um, yeah, let me move on with the Fire Lord. The Fire Lord, his passive skill is growing up on me. It does a lot of AoE. Again, well, it's not enough, but it does AoE against air. I feel like he's probably like Orb of Fire. His passive skill is basically an Orb of Fire on steroids because it can do more damage, more. So in a way, he already kind of has an orb with that passive skill. So he's probably like the one of the best unit, if not the best unit, when dealing with early air rush with his passive skill. Unfortunately, most people don't put the passive skill. They put on the lava spawn, which is really good. It does a lot of damage because it has piercing and it does a really good amount of damage. But like I said, there's a lot of dispel, so you're not gonna see that many. You're not gonna see people um, giving you that much leverage for the lava spawns. Probably might be stronger than this guy here when it comes to like the first level one. 1v1 fight, the Fire Lord is extremely um tough in the very beginning. Like he can win your lanes in the first two, three waves. But after that, he just simmers down really bad. Like he's not that good in mid to late game. Now with wait. I take it back. On late game, he can be very good with the level 3 passive skill. If you put something like increased speed, or if you have something like Bloodlust or Holy Frenzy, and he's gonna be attacking all. And usually people spam a lot of air in long games. His level 3 passive skill shines. His fire nuke spell unfortunately stays within an hero or an enemy, and if somebody has the spell, they can take it off. So I'm like, what? I didn't know that. If I knew this, then he might have probably done much better. That's why I tend to go for the passive skill now more because they can actually um, dispel his fire nuke spell. It's not like the Mountain King's Thunderbolt where he throws it and the dryer or somebody doesn't have to dispel it now. This one stays for a little while, but if you dispel it, you don't get as much damage for the fire spell. I'm like, oh man, this is why this guy's not that good. His level 6 is really really good. Same thing with what's his name? Keep forgetting the names here for the heroes. Anyways, these two have very good level 6. But aside from that, that's where they shine only, unfortunately. Because if you put anything spells in like maybe the level 3 dragon, the level 3 hawk that has invisibility, maybe they can get away with having that around because they need something like detection in order to actually dispel it. But aside from that, they get silenced real quick. Like this guy gets silenced really quick. I think he's the worst hero in my opinion. And I want people to actually tell me otherwise why he's probably not the worst hero. I want to hear people's opinion because I've been hearing people like Keeper of the Grove is the worst hero or Archmage is the worst hero. I even heard some people say the Lich is the worst hero. I backed up why they're not on the tier list. And yeah, I'm gonna cut this stream and hopefully this was helpful because I haven't heard anything on YouTube as far as the tier list concerns about Direct Strike. I know the game is getting more popular in time, but yeah, this is pretty much my tier list. And yeah, if there's anybody that wants to tell me otherwise, I'm gonna make another video and I'm gonna change it. And I don't want to go based on my opinion. I want to go based on the community opinion. So, all right, I'm gonna cut the stream. Take care, everybody. Have a good one. Peace.